Hey guys, if you're watching this, you were absent on October 3rd, 2017. This is Mrs. Warren, and today our lesson was focusing on protesting and taxation without representation. We're going to take off where we left on Monday and see how the colonies are going to react to all these new policies that Parliament is issuing them. All right, so you're going to add to the notes where you left off underneath the Stamp Act from Monday. Now, we're going to talk about protesting Parliament laws. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why they protested, but the main one was they didn't have direct representative over in England. A direct representative speaks for them in the colonies. So they were over in England making all these decisions, and the colonies were so used to governing themselves that to have someone else make these decisions for them, because they were already paying taxes in their own cities, in their own towns to take care of community problems. So to pay a tax without having a voice was not sitting well with the colonies. Their next battle cry became no taxation without representation, and they protested in several different ways. Now, as you add these to your notes, I want you, again, to write a question next to the notes on the left side of the line about what you think I might ask you about this.
Do you draw a picture?
Yes, I did.
Now, on this part, I went ahead and drew on a board a kind of an infographic of what the problem was between England and the colonies and representation. Please copy this from a neighboring student at your table on page 36. Now, not all of the policies that were inflicted by England to the colonies were about taxes. Now, they had all those extra soldiers that stayed over after the French and Indian War. They're sending more, not only to protect the colonists, but now controlling them. But where are we going to have these? Today, our government has military bases paid for by taxes to take care of the men and women who are fighting and protecting our country. But in this case, there was no such system. So the king would send over soldiers, and they passed a law called the Quartering Act. To quarter someone means to house and feed them. So the colonists had to allow soldiers to stay in their homes, use whatever supplies they needed, and provide them with food. Doesn't sound very fair. Now today, because of this injustice done to the colonists, we are now protected by the Third Amendment. The Third Amendment does not allow the government to force citizens of the United States to quarter soldiers in our homes, especially during peacetime. Because of the way the colonies felt about these new procedures, there was a lot of groups that formed, and the most famous and largest one was called the Sons of Liberty. You probably know him mostly because of the commercials about beer. Samuel Adams was a real person, and he was the leader of the Sons of Liberty. This was an organization of patriots. Now, a patriot came to be known as a colonist who wanted independence. Not everybody wanted independence, and this early in the game, you didn't hear people talking about it because it was dangerous to talk about independence because it was treasonous, and treason was punishable by death. So people whispered about it, but it wasn't a strong movement at this point. This group did a lot of intimidation and violence to get across their point, but they also organized peaceful protests such as boycotts and organized petitions throughout the colonies. Ignore that page. All right, skip a line. Now, if you had to go to page 37, draw the line again like we did on the previous page 35. And this will be written on the right-hand side. More protests. Now, these were peaceful, and we still utilize these protesting methods today to a very good effect. Boycotts were put into place, and this was we refused to buy British goods manufactured goods to hurt their trade, and it worked. This was the most effective method. Today, we see people like refusing to shop at different places because of that company's particular policy. That is considered a boycott too. Now, a petition is a letter written to a government asking them to change, and several people usually sign it in support of that change to let the government know the citizens that want it. In this case, the petition was writing letters to Parliament asking for change, asking for representation. Parliament, mostly due to the boycott, repealed the Stamp Act eventually. Now, repeal means that they just canceled or stopped that particular tax. Now, don't get too excited because they're going to come back. They're not going to stand for the colonies to be telling them what to do and how to handle things. Now, at this point in the lesson, I went ahead and had everybody open the book, depending on if you were pre-AP or on level, and we did a review reading assignment called Pause and Reflect. So, if you would ask your teacher, or me, that would be me, I'm Mrs. Warren, for that work and a copy of the book, and that will conclude the lesson for October 4th, 2017, or excuse me, October 3rd, 2017. Thanks for watching.